Hi, my name is Bishop Joanne Tillman Hooper from the Ridge Hill Worship and Deliverance Center. And we're here tonight with
Tierra Goldwire.
And Truffle Wire.
the Goldwires. And we're dealing with different things that is going on in our world today. We've been dealing with Revelation, the fourth chapter and the seventh verse, dealing with the beast, the head of a man, the head of a calf, the head of an eagle, and the head of a lion. And those four beasts have been the subject of our podcast. And we're going to deal with the subject of each one of them as a whole, dealing with our our economics, our church, our government, and our education department. So those four things that we're dealing with in our world today, it's like they're crumbling, and we can fix them before it's too late. But it's got to be an effort on everybody's part to begin to work to change the way things are. Would y'all agree? Can we fix it? Can we fix it?
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
That's what they say. Teamwork makes the dream work. And it takes everybody to put their heads together and make things work. And we all have to, we have to sit down and collaborate on how it is that we want to move forward in the things of God. All is not lost. It's like we say our teenagers, our young adults, everything is just in a disarray. But if we sit down and we have conversation with each other, we can fix some of these things just by having conversation. It's by sitting down and conversating about what it is that we want to move forward. Not just sitting down and say, oh, children just so bad, they don't want nothing in life. That's not true. It's not true. Everybody wants something in life. It's just a matter of redirecting the church, redirecting our government, redirecting, our economy. It's redirecting things that's concerning us as a people, right? And we can't fix it. We just have to sit down to the table and talk about it.
That's pretty much what it all boils down to is just simply communication. And as I get older, I start to realize that we as people, we greatly lack that understanding of being able to communicate with each other, whether it be male to female, or even man to man, woman to woman, or just everybody as a whole, or even just co-workers. People don't know how to control themselves. They don't know how to control themselves and kind of convey what they're trying to say in a proper manner. And it's kind of funny about that. I was doing like some training at work. They call it five voices. It basically tells you kind of like what your personality is as far as communication goes. And mine was creative, and most of my coworkers, theirs was like guardian, whatever. There's other details with that. The reason why that slide was created, or the training was created, was to give light to everybody about everyone's different personality, which will show you how they communicate. And mine, of course, which I can definitely relate to, it was saying that mine is a little more complex with the way that I think and stuff like that. So when I'm explaining stuff, it makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense to everybody else until like a while later. Or so they were explaining how to have patience with those kind of people. And same for the other types there were, things like this, five of them. And I thought that was pretty cool. I actually enjoyed watching the video because it kind of taught me a little bit about myself, and it taught me about others around me and how you can go about communicating with them. As well as far as like all the beasts and stuff like that, education, God, and economics and all that good stuff. If you want to break it down, it all goes back to when you're a child, when the child is born. What is the atmosphere for that child? Is that child being brought up in the way that God says that it should go, or are they just being brought up any kind of way? Now, of course, everybody's circumstances are different, but as long as you have the opportunity to make a choice, you can do so and do the right thing, depending on what your morals are and what your beliefs are, of course. because everybody's different, everybody's from different regions, everybody has their own thing. But if you start out the child in the proper way, the way that God says that the child should be raised, then when that child becomes an adult, now you have a proper person that can run the economy, run the education system, run everything properly. Because you gotta remember, the next generation is the new world. So you can't just discard them because you don't agree with something. Because remember, at the end of the day, your parents and your grandparents said the same thing about you. So, you know, the chain, it just keeps going on and on and on. It's the same thing. All these kids, all these kids, all these kids, all these kids. But you gotta realize that at the end of the day, you can't give up on them because they're the next generation. They're your future. They're the ones that's going to take care of you. They're the ones that's going to shape the new ideas and the new technology and the new things that's to come. And like I said, all the way from the beginning, you got to be able to build. Even like with Jonathan, he's what, 11 months now. You got to start. You got to be in the church. You got to know who God is because they're very spiritual and they continue down the line. And you got to continue that all the way until you're adult. You got to keep going until you're dead. That's how it works. I mean, I'm being dead serious.
It's true.
It's non-stop. You cannot stop. You
Exactly.
stop. That one time you decide to stop, that could be your last time.
That's right.
And you don't want to make it to the end of the road just to find out, oh, God was real. Oh, God was serious. Oh, God meant what he said. I thought he was just playing. I thought it was made up because, you know, we like to see with our physical eyes rather than actually seeing with our spirit. It's being able to feel things. You can feel stuff. You can feel how somebody's atmosphere is. But you choose to ignore that, or you choose to just go by what you see and what you feel, your five senses, or whatever the case may be. We believe that oxygen is here. We feel it. We smell it. We don't always see it unless certain conditions are about. So it's really the same premise when it comes to spirits, God, and everything. Just because you can't physically see it, don't mean it's not there.
Right. True. Exactly.
That actually, hearing you say that about the 5 personalities or the types of personalities, and hearing yours makes a lot of sense. Because there are times when you speak, and to someone like me, it's almost overwhelming because it's so much detail. And to me, I'm like filtering through the details when you're talking, but it makes sense because that's how you process things. You take in all of the details to form it. You're essentially like painting a picture when you talk. So you're giving all of the tiny little details. And it's kind of funny to see that comes across every part of your life. That's just who you are and how you think. But that is something that my parents always taught me growing up, is everyone does not think like you. Everyone was not raised like you. So when you speak to people, you have to speak to them on their level, whether that be above yours or below yours. Or, and you know, in a lot of cases, just being who you are and being real will reach that person. So even if you have a PhD at the Harvard University or whatever, you should still be able to communicate with people who are not on the same level.
Sure.
Because if you're genuine and you're a real person, anyone will be able to recognize a real person, not a PhD. But a lot of times we get caught up in social classes, materialistic things, and oh, I drive this, and I have this house, and I have this much in my bank account, and we disconnect because this person isn't on my social level or whatever reason. And I think that's caused a lot of divide between people in general, because you feel like you're better than me because you get $2 more an hour, or you drive a nicer car, you know, whatever it may be. And it's caused a disconnect between people where we really don't understand how to deal with people. We don't understand how to sit down and have a conversation and disagree with someone, and really not agree to disagree, but really get an understanding of why they're saying what they're saying, and they understand why you're saying what you're saying. We don't have to, I don't feel like you have to agree when you're coming from two polar ends of the spectrum, but you need to have an understanding of the conversation you just had. Not just, oh, we're just going to agree to disagree because you're not hearing me and I'm not hearing you. Why aren't we hearing each other? Because in every situation, that person is coming from that place because of where they've been and where they're going. So although I may differ in certain situations, you got to look at, okay, well, why does she think that way? Now let's dig a little deeper. And this is where the connection begins to be built. Because now the conversation started about your favorite color, but now we're going into why that happened. Why is this your favorite color? What's the reasoning behind it? And you can learn so much about someone just asking why about them. And honestly, like I've said previously, I work in a field where I have to get to know people. I have to understand people when I deal with them. So I have to ask the whys and, okay, well, why do you feel that way? Okay, well, what are you doing with this? And I have to be able to communicate myself effectively so that they understand me. And I also need to be able to understand them so I can give them what they're looking for. And it's kind of funny to just think about how all of us think so differently, how we all communicate so differently.
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny to sit down and think about that.
And that's from any angle, whether it be naturally, spiritually. We all have our own beliefs and our own way of viewing things. But at the end of the day, we must all be ready to accept people for who they really are. And the conversation, and being able, even if you are educated to a higher degree, you should automatically want to help someone else in their life, opposed to just saying, oh, they don't comprehend. It's like, you know, I do, or they can't, or you can't read, or you can't write. What happens to being our brother's keeper? What happens to loving one another? What has happened to the manners that you were brought up with, and understanding that you reap what you sow? These things don't change just because you get $2 for
Nope.
it.
If anything, when you get more money, you got another set of problems.
Exactly. More, and then the Bible tells us as well, to whom much is given, much is required. And the more understanding and knowledge that you have, you're required by the principles and the order that God has set up. God has set standards for the human race to follow after. And it doesn't change just because we decide we're not able to follow the rules. If we want to change the rule, okay, automobile being put together a particular way. It's no, you have to, you work on cars. And but at the end of the day, after you've changed, you may modify something, but it's still gotta go, it gotta fit the component that you're trying to modify. And so it is with anything. It's just like the body of Christ, the kingdom of God, the church. Even though people want to change a lot of things about how they communicate and what it is that they accept as true, you still gotta understand there was a foundation laid before you even thought about doing whatever it is that you're doing. You gotta always understand the origin of a particular thing. You gotta always want to understand and ask when you don't understand. Ask someone that, can you help me? I'm going to California. Can you help me get on the right road? And that's what it is. It's like, our conversation, you know, my background, I was brought up in the church as long as I could ever remember. We were in the church. We were in the church all the time. And my thing is that, okay, as soon as I get grown, I ain't going to church no more. I'm gonna do what I want to do because, man, they brought every Sunday we gotta go to church, Bible study, and during the summer we have to go to vocational Bible school. We gotta always be somewhere near the church, and you looking at your friends doing other things. So now you say, okay, when I get grown, I don't want no parts of the church. And the sad part about it is that it was in me. I couldn't get it out of me. I've been in church all my life and didn't know anything else, even though you may try to do something, that conviction is still there. You can never ever get away from your foundation if it's built upon truth. I could not get away from the fact that I was a church girl. I was a girl that
you literally long for it. If you're away for too long, it's almost like being without oxygen. Like, when you're underwater and you can't breathe, you're literally longing to breathe. Like, I need to take this breath. That's what it feels like, to separate from something that is a part of who you are.
right.
It's kind of funny to think about, but because I've grown up in the church my whole life as well. Not to that extent. Not to that extent. We did have maybe Bible studies, but every single Sunday I was in church. And when you grow older, I don't know if I ever had the thought of I'm not gonna go to church when I get older, but I definitely wanted the freedom to like sleep in on a Sunday if I decided to. But now that I'm older, I am excited to get up Sunday morning and go to church. Like, this is a part of my life, and it keeps me going. Yeah. To be around. And it's not just the building, it's not just the church. It's hearing the word, hearing the singing, feeling the spirit, being around the leaders, and for them to be able to impart in me, and for me to be able to impart in some of the other people in the church. That interaction as a whole, it's something that it becomes a need at some point, something that you need and that you desire to have.
I know we're kind of going on tangents, but it's good for y'all to get to know us and our walk with God and whatnot. When my granddad was still alive, we used to go to church all the time when I was really, really little. But then as we got older, we were kind of in and out of the church a lot. No, we weren't switching churches. We just would go to church. We just don't feel like going to church. Just stay at home, play video games all day, or everybody just in there chilling. So
Yeah.
But for me, no matter what, I knew it was inevitable. I realized in elementary school that I was different from everybody because I tried to fit in a little bit, and just to test it out. And I realized as a little kid that there's no way for me to fit in. Like, it's possible. So I might as well just be me. So that's what I did. I always knew God was there because I could feel Him, but I didn't really have a catalyst to teach me about it for the most part. So all the time I thought like I was crazy or something. Because even to this day I can't really sleep. Most because I don't choose to sleep. But even when I was younger, I couldn't sleep, and that was because either I was growing really fast, like bones hurting, and I would have dreams all the time, visions all the time. And I could never understand it. I have like every single night, even now. I always have them. I couldn't sleep very well. When I got in 5th grade, I woke up one morning and I felt like a superhero. I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of like I woke up and I just felt like, I guess you could say, I felt God's overwhelming spirit over me, as if He had just then implanted in me that I was supposed to do something amazing in the future for Him. And ever since then, that feeling has never gone away. I've always felt that kind of way. So I always felt entitled to do the right thing and try to be pure of heart for the most part, and just do the right thing whenever I can. And of course, slip up here and there and do the wrong thing or fall short in some areas, but continue to go forward. And then eventually, when I became a young adult to a real adult, I decided that I was going to search for it myself. And then me and my wife, she became my girlfriend and whatnot, and then she went to see if I was serious about God, but she was serious about God. And we came to the church. Here we are now. Of course, as you can see, God has completely changed my trajectory into the correct path I'm supposed to be. And now we're doing this podcast for y'all to watch. And of course, there's way more details with all that stuff to get down to the nitty gritty of everything. But it's just amazing what God can do for you. Even if you do go astray, of course, you don't want to go too far out there. You don't want to go to the point of no return. But even if you go a little astray or so, He's still there, and He's waiting for you to come back and do the right thing and follow Him. Because at the end of the day, you got to realize you don't lose anything by being with God. You don't lose anything by learning about God. The only thing you can do is gain. That's it. You lose absolutely nothing. You're just gaining knowledge and gaining what you need to progress spiritually. Because again, our bodies are from this world, but our spirits are not of this world. You got to understand that. Once it's time to go, it's time to go. This body's gonna be left behind. This body's gonna decay. All this cool stuff that you see out here in the world, it's cool right now, but it's not gonna last forever. That doesn't mean, fall into a place where you're like, oh man, life is going to end. You don't have to do all that. Just enjoy your life while you can, and just keep pushing forward. Of course, there's crazy things happen out there, but all you can do is what you can do and hold fast to God. And the tests are gonna come, and you just have to hold fast to Him. And all it does is make you stronger. Just like when you go in the gym and you got to push a little bit extra, all it does is make you stronger. It hurts. It's going to hurt. You got to put in that energy. You're going to lose energy. You're going to feel tired. You're going to be stressed out, whatever the case may be. But you got to remember your goal. What is your end goal? No matter what you do, whether it's working out, business, careers, everyone has a goal in mind that they're trying to reach. And you try, and depending on how much you want it, you're going to try your best to get it. And just like we heard before, you gotta want as much as you want to breathe. And that's the same thing with God. We gotta want Him as much as we want to live and want to breathe. Because at the end of the day, He's the reason why we can live and continue forward every single day.
But it's being consistent with the whole process, because you just brought up going to the gym. A lot of people, that's why they can't lose weight. They struggle to lose weight because there's no consistency. Consistently showing up every day will take you further than spurts of, oh, let me go do this and I'm so excited. It takes you so much further, because there are days where you get up and you don't feel like reading your Bible. You don't feel like praying. There are days where you get up and you like questioning God, why? Why would you do this? Why would you do this? There are days where people will come into your job and cuss you out. You like, if you caught me about 2 months ago. But being consistent and taking every moment, every day, every year, every month as seriously as possible, and just being consistent in the whole process will take you so much further. Because like in the story you just gave, to me, one of the biggest differences was the consistency of all of it. You said when you were growing up, it was, kind of when you felt like it. Because a lot of people fall into that pattern. It's when something's wrong, I can go find God. You got to band-aid me up, and then, and it's not that God saying you're done. He's saying, okay, we'll stop the bleeding for now, but we actually need to get you over here. So you just wait right here. I'll go get the paperwork and I'll be right back. By the time God gets back, you back out the door. That's how people treat the situation. They get band-aided and they leave, and then they come back 2 months later. God, I'll never do it again. But the problem is, you never make it past the band-aid. You never get the treatment that you need because you're too busy. I need another Band-Aid. I need another Band-Aid. Just get the treatment and be done with it. Move past that. And that's the consistency. Instead of leaving, because it's going to get uncomfortable. The Band-Aid isn't as bad as the needle that he may be about to put to you, or the alcohol, or the peroxide, or whatever he may be doing. But you take that little bit of pain, that trial, that tribulation, and you move past it, because then you won't have to go through it. Right. When we get this patched up, we're gonna move to the next thing. Okay, we got some damage over here. We're gonna fix this. We got some damage over here. We're gonna fix that. And it's a constant process to the point where you'll look back and shoot 6 months and say, "Oh my goodness, I went from here to here." Mm-hmm. And for me, when I moved out, that's when I would say my relationship with God became more serious. When I moved out, and really when we got married, that's when I became more serious in my relationship with God. Because I was in church every Sunday. I heard the word every Sunday. But I never took it as seriously as, yeah, you literally, you get thrown into life, and there's no more mama and daddy for you to go run to and say, can I do this, or I need that. When you're sitting there, you ain't got no money in the bank account, you're trying to figure out how you're going to eat. I'm like, God, listen, I know we ain't talked much, but this is a perfect time to build a relationship. And in all seriousness, that's where it starts. You come in here like, I messed up pretty bad, but here I am, and God takes you as you are, and He just starts working on you. Yes. He starts building on you, and as He's working, you work to get to know who this doctor is that's working on you. I want to know this man who made my life go from rock bottom to the highest of heights.
Yeah.
And that's what my relationship has been every day, getting to know God and understand him, reading through his word, but speaking to him every day, because we as humans feel like, or I'll say some of us Christians, believers even, we have these issues and we have these problems, but we don't feel like God can handle them.
Yeah.
So we deal with this stuff on our own, but I don't want to bother God with that. No, that's like saying, that's like being 4 years old and saying, I don't want to tell mom and daddy I'm hungry.
Yeah.
No, as a 4-year-old, you start crying, you start fussing because you're hungry and you know they can do something about it. But for whatever reason, when we become adults, we forget that God is our Father who are in heaven.
Yes.
We forget that, and then we decide, okay, I'm just gonna do it on myself because I don't want to bog God down with that. And he got too many other people to worry about. This is the all-knowing, omnipotent God. You think he can't? What's the verse? My ears are not too heavy.
That I cannot hit the
That I cannot hit.
My arms are not too short that I cannot reach down.
Exactly. He's never too far away that he cannot hear you and that he is not there. So that's one thing that I had to learn. I had to give it to him. I don't know what to do. And even in the situations where maybe I can figure something out. Why? When I can say, God, you take the situation and you take it to where you want to take it to. Because where Tierra can take it to is going to be a hot mess. So, you know, they have a meme on TikTok where the person is talking to God and they're like, I'm going to do it this way and I'm going to do it that way. And God is sitting there like, okay, I heard that, but don't do that because that's not a good idea at all. Let me do this and you sit down. But it's funny because that's how it is. We concoct these things in our mind about how it should go and what we think, oh, yeah, we got it all planned out. And then God says, okay,
That's a good,
but no.
That's a good point right there. To give advice on is, there's nothing wrong with setting goals because I think even like for myself, like first learning about all that stuff, you think, okay, if God has his own plan for me, then I shouldn't set any goals. If you set any goals and it don't happen, no problem. But you should set your goals. But, yeah, exactly. But you also give him his room to make it happen, to fill in the blanks for you, so you don't have to be out here. Yeah, man, I'm working real hard trying to get it all by yourself. You shouldn't have to do it all by yourself. You're not really supposed to do it all by yourself. He's there to bear that weight for you.
And it's really a beautiful thing. If anyone who's watching, you are struggling, all I can say as a word of advice is be consistent. Every day, give it as much as you can. If that means reading one scripture instead of the whole chapter, do that. Because showing up every single day will take you so much further than reading a whole book one day and then not reading for 6 months. Or praying for an hour one day and then not talking to God for the rest of the year. If your conversation with God is only 2 minutes long, let it be those 2 minutes and give him all you got in those 2 minutes. But if I could give advice, it would be consistent in the process.
Exactly. So, for example, I do YouTube and we're doing this YouTube as well for the podcast. And of course, right now, we may not be getting a lot of views as of right now. And even on my channel, I get views here and there on my videos, but those views usually come way later down the line, like a year later, then the video starts blowing up or whatever, start getting thousands of views. But when I first posted, it doesn't really get that many views because I'm on a smaller scale as of right now. But of course, in the beginning, I used to be really inconsistent with it because, I used to get discouraged. I'd be like, dang, man, I put in like 10 hours on this video and nobody watched. And then even now, I still do that. Like a couple weeks ago, I literally spent like a whole day on the video. Probably like 10 in the morning to 12 at night editing that video. And I put it out. And of course, it didn't get like 1,000 views, but for me, I didn't care about that because I understand it's a process. I'm gonna still give it my all and still make good quality content that I like because I need to like it first before I put it out there. I need to actually enjoy my own content if I want other people to enjoy it versus just throwing stuff out there. And there's a point me throwing out content that I don't enjoy as well. So I still put in that effort, even though I know I may not get tons of views now, but that's for the future. I understand that in the future it's going to come. God's going to allow it to prosper eventually. And that's like I said, it comes with consistency. We got to stay consistent with it. And of course, depending on what you do, it's like us doing this podcast. We'll sit down and take our time here and there throughout the week. It's not like we just have like a whole bunch of free time. We all come after work. Bishop, we do her stuff. She be ministering to people and stuff like that. Everybody has their own thing. I just came from the gym, my arms hurt. So, it's just that simple consistency. Making time. So we got to make time for God. We got to make time for this stuff. We got to make time for the Lord as well. To make it happen, we have to be consistent with it, or else you'll never see results. How can you possibly, let's even put it like this, how can you possibly build a relationship with your loved ones if you're not consistently building that relationship, consistently seeing them, consistently imparting into their lives, and vice versa? You can't have a good relationship with your children if you're not consistently being with them. And I'm not just talking about like nagging and stuff like that, or being like, don't do that, don't do that. I understand that, you gotta have that discipline. But talking to them, building that relationship, and just being a family. You gotta be consistent with that. Just like with all of us, for Prayer for me, I have to fill out people first before I want to talk to them, stuff like that. And I'll say for all of us. With me, when I first came here, I didn't want to talk to anybody like that because I didn't know anybody like that. And I didn't know if anybody would like me, what the case may be. But they consistently built that relationship with me to where they are literally, we're literally family members now, but they're literally my family, and I know I can come to them with anything. Just like us doing this, advice, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Don't cry.
But yeah, that's like you said, being consistent with everything and just building the relationship with God and with those that you love. Building a true relationship with those around you, not just a relationship where it's kind of just surface level. That's the best way to put it. It's just surface level stuff. Kind of like how we get other relationships at work. You just see this person like, hey, what's up? What's up? That's surface level type of stuff. So you may chat here, whatever, but build relationships with people that you can. If something happened in your life, they can be there to bring you back towards God. If you start falling apart or you start moving astray. And like I said, that's what you got to do.
We have got to work consistently in building a relationship, first with God and then with one another. In a lot of areas of our lives that we've allowed to slip, and things that we know to do, we have a tendency of finding other things to do opposed to continuously building positive relationships, dealing with things pertaining to family, church, our government, our school system, being in the lives of one another, making a difference. We, as a people, the Bible says, we are the light of the world. And if the light goes dim, then where will those that are in the dark, how will they come to the Father? And so we're here at the Ridge Hill Worship and Deliverance Center with me, Bishop Joanne Tillman Hooper, the overseer, and Pastor Dwayne and Angela Brown, the pastors of our great organization, and the Gold Wires who have consistently sat with me and doing a podcast. And I pray that whatever has been said, you can glean something from it and your life be the better because of a word you heard from us. We thank you for joining us. Like and share. If we've said something that has been an inspiration in your life, share it with someone else, because the world that we're living in need positive things. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. We can fix it, but we got to all be consistent and having a relationship and a great foundation. You be blessed for the rest of your life. We pray. Amen.
Amen.